We designed the postgraduate diploma, which is, as I say, is the flagship qualification of the ICA. It's the highest level one. It's a level 7 qualification. It constitutes, and say, it carries with it 80 master's credits from the University of Manchester, and that then is recognised by other universities. And actually, people do it as a standalone qualification. Other people, though, do it as, in fact, so that they can have covered approximately half of a master's degree programme. Now, we have two areas here. The one which has been running for a number of years is the Professional Postgraduate Diploma in Governance, Risk and Compliance. Now, I'll just mention a very little bit about the format of this. This is where it's designed, first of all, for people who are already fairly senior in their organisations. They probably need to have had at least about 10 years of working experience, been in a senior role for about 3 years, and usually have at least a graduate level or professional level background before they come in relation to that one. So that's the type of person that usually comes into this particular qualification. Now, the format then is, again, the people in senior roles, they don't have huge amounts of time. So what we've done is we've taken 2 residential weekends, both hosted at the University of Oxford. Gives you the nice ambience, as I say, of the college environment there. And what you do in those 2 weekends, you do 4 masterclasses in each weekend. 1 on Friday night for 3 hours, 2 on Saturday, and 1 on Sunday. Now, that happens twice a year, with a break of about 6 months between the 2. Now, before that, there are a number of modules that, in fact, we introduce you to online. You know, the research methodology and how you go about that will be done online in advance of attending the weekends. But in terms of the physical commitment, it's the 2 long weekends that is the key there. Now, the big attraction of this, and again, if you switch just in relate, one of the interesting, and I think this will resonate with you, people in this position are people who already have a degree of competence and ability. And in fact, one of the interesting things about it is when they come onto this course, it's a staggering statistic, this, more than 50% of all the people within leaving this course or whilst they were on the course have changed their job. As I was saying earlier, there's a lot of poaching, particularly at the higher level. And the ability to do a qualification like this and the networking opportunities that you're meeting with other senior people within an organisation seems to, in fact, be a real benefit and plus relating to the qualification itself. Now, what happens on this is we, as background, before you come onto the course, once you've registered, we give you access to all the manuals for all the other courses that we. So you'll have the diploma in AML's materials, the diploma in financial crime, the diploma in compliance as background reading before you come on. So you would do that, and then you do your weekend, and you get leading exponents from around the world coming in and giving you a masterclass. What you then have to do is go away and do a 1,000-word write-up on each of those masterclasses. They're not assignments. You're answering 2 questions. What were the key issues in the masterclass, and how could I use them in a practical environment within my firm? That's all they are. They're commentaries or aid memoirs, and you do 8 of those. So you do 4 after the first weekend, do some further study, do your second weekend and do another 4, and then those 8, it's graded on you're either competent or not yet competent. So it's not graded into pass, merits, distinction. You're either competent or not at this particular level. Now, people love the format of this. They love having these 2 fantastic weekends where you're staying in great accommodation at the top hotels in Oxford. Your classes take place within the university, and it's a wonderful experience. Seems to be the gist. Now, we say the one we've run, and probably I would say best part of 200 people has gone in relation through this programme in the last 2 or 3 years, Jonathan,
yep.
Of that. Now, I'll just pass on to Jonathan so he can tell you about what you cover in the masterclasses. Just one final thing, though. The main assessment, though, is an oral interview. I've got one tomorrow that I'm doing on a one-to-one basis. People come in, they talk about their background, their experience, their skills. We talk about their leadership abilities, their analytical skills, and so on and so forth. And it's a very enjoyable way of assessing somebody. But I know an awful lot more about somebody from doing a 2 to 3 hour oral interview than if they sat 10 examinations on paper. And that's why it's a really good way of assessing people. So just in terms of the content of these then, Jonathan, do you want to just say a little bit about that one?
Yep, I'll just run through briefly the content on GRC, and then I know Beck will just very quickly do it on the FCC. Obviously all this detail is online, so you can go into the course syllabus and you can see what's there. The other thing we do with these as well, just before I go into them, is we review them every year, and we'll change them. 1 or 2 masterclasses will be changed to reflect what is going on in the industry. So there are some standards, for example, building and leading an effective team. And we have a chap called Anthony Smith-Mayer who comes over, who's worked at very senior levels across Europe. He's Norwegian, actually, by birth, although he has no accent whatsoever, which is strange. And he comes in and he delivers his 3-hour masterclass based on his experience and best practices in terms of what he has seen, what he has seen in businesses where he's gone in and advised. And as Bill says, we ask for 2 key things to be done from the masterclass. What do you learn? What were the issues discussed? But then more importantly, how can you then use that knowledge? And we encourage you at the beginning of the weekend to actually ask those questions as the masterclass goes on. One of the key things that we make sure the masterclass tutors do, so there's 8 different tutors, is keep the slide deck to a minimum so that these 3 hours are basically discussions. So you have the slide deck, you have the best practice, you have what's happening at the cutting edge, where the developments are going, but most of the time is spent within the group talking. And because all of the 25 people in there are senior professionals with lots of experience, there is just so much knowledge in the room, you can't help but absorb so much of it. So you come out of it, and to actually get it down to 1,000 words, if you like, we actually allow it to 1,500 now, because people couldn't get all of the learning and what they can do with it across. And remember, there's 8 of these. So when you start looking at some of these topics, some will be very relevant for you. Some of them you might think, well, actually, that's an area where I don't really have that much input. So you'd have to do a bit more background reading. But again, across the whole piece, you will have areas which directly affect you and you can learn from immediately, and others that will develop you in new areas. And then if we go on to the financial crime pieces, did you want to just say a couple of bits on that, Becca?
Very quickly, so... No, it's fine, Bill, thanks. So, yes, the financial crime is running now as well for the first time in March. Again, same model as the GRC program. I think one of the things, just to add to what Jonathan said, this is worldwide industry level figures who come in and run each of the masterclass sessions. So it really is people at the very, very top of their discipline. And I think that is another fantastic, unique aspect of this program. So again, I won't run through all the areas, but for example, the use of cyber security, technology in combating financial crime, people who are expert, cutting edge of what's going on in all the tier 1 institutions, and government level strategy. So de-risking, again, there's a lot more at a strategic level here, understanding policy, governmental level issues affecting the whole industry, where the industry is going, a lot more strategic level discussion with a very senior peer group. Sanctions, again, particularly from a US perspective, we have a couple of very senior US lawyers who come in and give some very insightful thoughts into the evolution of sanctions, where it's going, what regulators expect to really see. And, very, very interesting. I'm looking forward to attending these myself. So I don't really want to say anything much more than that, other than it's really focused and recognition that financial crime itself, in the widest context, including AML, itself is such a specialism that it merits a qualification at this level as well.
Fine. Thank you. Just very quickly then on that, in terms of the ability to apply for this course, if you've already done a diploma level and you've worked for 3 years, then you can automatically come into the program. So there's that progression if you want to go down that route. But if in fact, as I say, you're already graduate level, you've already had, say, 10 years of experience, even if you're not a graduate, but you've had at least 10 years of experience and at least half of that would be in a senior position, you're eligible to apply. So it's just to give you a little bit of background about that one. As I say, this program is very popular. Probably half the candidates come from all over the world for this one, for obvious reasons, because, it's a good way of doing it. And therefore, but the experience of being away and having those residential weekends is very, very enjoyable. So thanks very much, everybody. We're happy to carry on with questions outside. If you've got any individual things, we'll all be around now for a while. So thanks very much indeed. Cheers now.
I'll just add to that last one. The weekends are great fun. I host them. They are really good fun.